Under one of my recent videos, someone left a comment that I found interesting. It said, it would be great to have a video about which WPS you use. So today I decided to make exactly this kind of video since you asked for it. I'm not going to make a theoretical video from a computer scientist's perspective, but I'll show you the two WPS that I personally use. I use one for the demo account and one for the real account, and you'll understand why the WPS can make the difference between earning and losing. By the end of this video, you'll know three fundamental things. What are the necessary features to run on a WPS? MetaTrader 5. Why do cheap WPS usually cause problems when the market is open, and when, in my opinion, it makes sense to consider switching to a dedicated WPS? Welcome everyone, I'm Andrea, your automated trader. And if you like what I do, leave a nice like on the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos I'll be posting. Also, activate the notification bell, don't forget. So, this is my real WPS, where I actually run my account. As you can see, we have about 17,600 euros. So it's the usual account I always show in my videos, the one I use myself. Now let's minimize MetaTrader and take a look at the WPS we're using. So this is a WPS I got from forexwps.net. It's not a very expensive WPS. It costs about 260 euros per year. So it's still a reasonable price. And I find it quite good for running a MetaTrader. As you know, on MetaTrader, I have about 30 charts open with 30 experts working on them. Let's take a look at the features of this VPS. So let's open the task manager. If you don't know how to do it, it's Ctrl-Shift-ESC. Let's go to performance. These are the performance stats. Usually, CPU usage is around 20%. As for memory, we're a bit more stretched. It's at 3 gigabytes and 2 gigabytes out of 4 gigabytes available. So what I have is a VPS with 4 gigabytes of memory. The CPU, on the other hand, has 2 cores. Now let's close the Task Manager panel and take a look at how MetaTrader is running. As you can see, if I try to move around, everything is pretty smooth. It's clear, and I don't have any issues. I can maybe switch charts. It takes a moment, but it's still acceptable. MetaTrader works well. Let's say this is a VPS that, in my opinion, has a good price to performance ratio for what I'm doing today. And it runs my whole system decently, so without any issues. As you can see here, I basically have nothing else on the VPS. I only have my MetaTrader installed. This, on the other hand, is the VPS I use for the account demo. Now let's take a look at the features of this VPS. This VPS has 4 CPU cores. I have less memory because I only have 2 gigabytes. And even here it's pretty tight because I'm using almost all of it. Since there are more cores, obviously the CPU usage is lower. This is a VPS I bought from cheapvps.com. It costs a bit less because it's only about 16 euros per month. For the demo, this is a VPS that, being a bit cheaper, is still fine because I only need it to run demo experiments. I don't need to be perfect, like I want to be with the real account. Now let's take a look at how our MetaTrader works on this VPS. As you can see, if I scroll, it's a bit choppy, so compared to the previous one, it's a bit slower. It doesn't run smoothly like the one we used before. If I change the charts, it also takes more time. You see, I click, and then after a while, it shows up on the chart. So this one has a bit less performance compared to the other, but still, it's fine for this kind of work. Now, I'll explain why some very cheap VPSs perform poorly right when you need to trade. So, during the week when you want to trade with your experts, this isn't magic, it's just about the infrastructure. Cheap VPSs like this one here, the demo I'm using. These are VPS that are highly shared. When the markets are closed, these VPS are very smooth, they work well, and have great performance. But when the markets open and everyone starts using the VPS, the resources are shared, and so the performance drops a lot. The RAM gets saturated, like in our case, we have 2 gigabytes and we're already using 85% of it. So the system starts using the disk instead of memory. And the provider starts lowering the priority of your CPU because you're still on a very cheap subscription. So the result is pretty much what I showed you in the video. The CPU usage is very low, but MetaTrader is still lagging and slow. That's why this VPS I use for the demo on weekends works perfectly. No ticks are coming through, there are no orders, few people are connected, and everything runs smoothly. From Monday to Friday, on the other hand, when everyone is trading, everyone is connected to the VPSs and they're running for all the users. Whether it's MetaTrader or whatever else they're using, the performance of your VPS is shared. So everything slows down. And we get a bit of lag, a few little issues related to these. So we have a real VPS with only 2 cores, but 4 GB of RAM, and everything runs pretty smoothly. Whereas the demo VPS has 4 cores and only 2 GB of RAM, and everything runs slower. This clearly shows one thing. It's not just CPU power that matters, but also the RAM. And the infrastructure behind the VPS is what most affects your MT5. Now, I'll give you some practical advice based on my experience with various VPSs I've used over the years. If you want to run just one MetaTrader like I do, with about 30 or 40 charts open and just as many experts working, you'll definitely need a VPS with at least 2 cores, 4 GB of RAM, an SSD hard drive, and you should be all set. Obviously, if you want to run, say, 2 MetaTraders open with about 30 charts each, you might need something more. A VPS with 4 cores, 8 GB of RAM, and a fast SSD to get better performance so everything runs optimally. So the last practical tip I want to give you, if you're buying a VPS for the first time, get it for just 1 month. Once you purchase the VPS, log in, install the programs you want to use, MetaTrader, everything you'll need to do your work. Basically everything you need. Run your experts, push it to the limit, test it out. And after this first month, if everything has worked well, then yes. You can also consider signing up for a longer subscription, because when you go for annual plans, the monthly cost definitely goes down. Never try to save money on this initial testing phase, because that's what prevents you from having unpleasant surprises in the future. A lot of people ask me whether it's better to use a dedicated VPS or to have multiple VPSs. Well, this is quite a broad topic, isn't it? Let's say in my current situation, even if I wanted to run 2 or 3 MetaTraders, I would prefer to have 3 VPSs like the one I'm currently using for my live account. Why am I telling you this? Because if you have 3 different VPSs and let's say one crashes, the other 2 will still work. They're independent. Clearly, though, this gives you more work, because every time there's an update to do, you have to do it on 3 machines. Every time you need to change something, you have to log into a different VPS each time, so it's a bit more cumbersome. When I eventually decide to switch to a dedicated VPS, first of all, I'll also have to consider the cost, because a dedicated VPS maybe has costs that are over 200 euros per month. And then one of these things will have to happen. For example, I might have 3 MetaTrader 5 platforms open with 3 different brokers. Maybe I'll have about 50 experts on each one, or I'll start creating experts that do scalping. And so I really need to work on every millisecond. I want a very high performance VPS so I don't miss anything, because even a millisecond can make a difference. In that case, for example, like if you do high frequency scalping, before that point, in my opinion, several solid VPSs beat a single high performance one. Going for ultra cheap VPSs might seem like a good deal at first, but if that VPS ends up making all your expert advisors lag, in the end, that savings can cost you a lot in trading. If you found this video helpful, send it to a friend on WhatsApp, because that's how important information gets around.